Welcome back to another episode of the Presence Podcast. I'm Malte Kramer, founder and CEO of Luxury Presence. My guest today is Matt Breitenbach, one of the top producing agents in the country and the founder of the Breitenbach Advisory Team, also known as BAT. Matt is an absolute thought leader when it comes to luxury real estate. And in this conversation, we get into celebrity and athlete and how to work with high net worth individuals. We talk about private listings. We explore his tech stack and so many other interesting topics. Matt truly is a thought leader, and I'm so excited for you to hear this conversation. Matt, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Hey Matt, welcome back to the Presence Podcast. I am a former basketball player and a huge NBA fan, so I want to start this conversation by asking you about the NBA players that you've worked with. Tell me what some of the differences are about working with an NBA player versus a regular client.
Well, thanks for having me, Malte. First and foremost, pleasure. And I think when you work with an NBA player or a ultra high net worth person, I've noticed they're very similar. And I got that experience as a young 22-year-old getting thrown into the luxury market. That's my mom, who was an agent. And I really noticed that how you handle a ultra high net worth person is very in line with how you handle athletes. Athletes somewhat are same with ultra high net worth people. Someone always wants something from them. Always someone's looking for something, or I want tickets, or I want this, or I want that. And I think the more you can be really aligned with them and be grounded with them and be a human being, right at the heart of it, underneath that person, that famous person, is a human being that just wants to be normal as much as we want. It's funny, I had a conversation. I went to an NFL kind of like a networking thing, and I met this NFL player, a bunch of them running around, and I was talking with him. He's like, it's funny because he was talking about a bunch of it was like a business thing, so it was a bunch of not just agents, but he was like, it's funny, this is like a prominent NFL player. He's like, this is funny, you guys want to be us on the field, we want to be you guys, we want to be in business, we want to be investing. And I think they just want normal things. It's almost like when you have it, you don't, right? They just want you to be there for them. So I think in the moment I think athletes or ultra high net worth people think you're brokering them or trying to sell them something, is the moment they don't want to be in that. I think really they have to feel you're looking out for them and care.
Do you have any advice for agents who are looking to break into this type of the market?
Referrals, gatekeepers, right? Like my first athlete was a referral. When I had a chance to work with Jason Kidd, it was from a client that I sold a house to that I didn't even know, which I guess is a Hamptons thing, but he was partner of the Orlando Magic. I thought he was just a software guy. But he knew Jason, he referred me in, he did a great job, right? Like your reputation, your how you handle things, like success will breed other success. But I think if you're an agent, I want to focus on that segment, focus on it through gatekeepers, referrals, like find the right guys to get opportunity. So you have to find opportunities. At the same time, you have to perfect your craft. So if you get the opportunity, you don't fumble the ball. Using a sports analogy, it's like getting at bat and then striking out. I want to start and I want to have a playoff in the playoffs, but you get in there and then you go 0 for 4. Like you might not start the next game. So I think when you get the opportunity, really focusing on it. And that gets harder as you grow because the more opportunities you have, you got to figure that out as you go.
Yeah. How do you make that client experience really great so that you get those referrals?
I'm a team guy. I always believe in team. Like I run a tight team. I think I will scale bigger at one point, but what I've been really focused on now in this season is client experience and having a really tight team. And I feel like sometimes agents make the mistake of just hiring other agents. Whereas for me, it's like everybody has a role. Everybody has a kind of everyone has their lane of how we're going to elevate this client experience. And, for me, growing up the son of another agent and observant agent, I think one of my strengths as a person has always been observation and learning and grow. Like I always used to observe other agents and I'd be like, you know what? They're not really caring as much about the client experience with people. And I think they're also overextending. They don't want to break up that commission. They want to take it and they're not trusting. Where it's like you have to find some people you can really trust and then bring them in on that relationship as partners to kind of elevate it up. And I've seen that a lot. And that's how we do, especially with listings that we do. We'll run heavy open houses and a lot of follow-up, and it's very systematic and process driven. And I think that's where the mindset needs to be.
Tell me about those early years working with your mom when you got your start. What was that like, and what are some of your favorite memories?
Yeah, I mean, a quick story is, so my mom, I'm 2 weeks in the business, and this is, I don't know if I've told the story in a long time, but I was 2 weeks, I was 22 years old. I came out of like a frat house in college to like, now I'm a luxury real estate agent.
Yeah.
I took the summer off, and this is the fall. And she goes, okay, I'm going to Africa on a safari. And I was like, really? And she's like, she leaves me this like 2-page Word document of like how to get in. This is the #1 broker in the Hamptons at the time, has like 100 million plus in listings, and leaves me a 2-page Word document with each property with how to get in. I don't know how to set up an appointment. I don't know how to like do anything.
Yeah.
I'm like, she threw me right. And then she leaves on her voicemail, call my assistant, Matt, if you need anything.
Yeah.
So she goes, literally and she goes to Africa where no one could reach her. And then literally the next day, the phone starts exploding. So I go from it's going from like beginner level to like expert within a day. And I start getting calls all the time. And it just really threw me into a deep end of a pool of me really understanding what the broker life was like very fast. And it was like, I remember this little nice old man who's now retired, and every time I see him around the Hamptons, because he's still here, and I'm like, Lewis, you saved my life. He was this nice little old man. He used to wear this like tweed jacket every day. He was always well dressed. He was a very old school broker. The nice like Gucci loafers. Like he was in every day, worked. And I'm like, Lewis, like how do I set up an appointment? And he like really helped me out in that first moments. And then from there, I sold my first house a few weeks later. And about a week later, and it's funny, like when my mom came back after this couple-week trip, like I had put something in contract, and she always told that story, which gave me credibility. And it was like 2006, so it's a much different market. And then like, going through 2008, 2009 with her too, was very much of like a learning experience about pricing and positioning properties, and how to pivot, like how you have to pivot in business and in life. Just, you have to always be moving, and how to do it. And my mom and I, during that recession, we were the #2 team in the country in 2009. And the reason we did that is because we underpriced everything. Like everyone was like doing the same thing. We're like, we're going to price it where it needs to sell, right at the number. And we're going to tell everyone. And that's how we pitched it to people. And, we made it happen. It was just very interesting. But I think those tough times, those lessons, I think are so, for anybody, are just so, just taking up the heart and is growing from them.
Yeah. You mentioned pivoting, and I feel like you've always looked for a way to evolve your business, evolve your brand. 2014, you started Breitenbach Advisory Team, and now you're really leaning into technology. You're launching an app with us. And whenever we talk, you're asking, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? So I really get the sense that you want to innovate and you want to find new ways of doing things. What do you think is next for you and for your business when you think about the next couple of years?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think for me, I do want to continue to build out the team. I want to give back. I feel like I've been doing this 20 years almost, and I do want to mentor other people. I feel like I've made every move to learn kind of how to build a team, how to build it where I am. And I want to continue to kind of lean into that client experience, lean into what we're building with my internal team. But I also want to maybe expand the team to some additional agents that have their own business, that I can help them grow and do what I did.
If you had to boil it down to a few sentences, what would you say sets your team apart in the ultra luxury market?
Well, we're relentless, I think, in our passion. We're very performance driven. We're, pursuit of excellence as well. Like we just want to do it elevated and better. But we just really relentlessly trying to get results for clients. Like it's really like, and understanding our clients, I think too. And obviously our marketing, I think our digital prowess, our social, our brand, like it's all part of that brand, and those weapons that we can do, from property websites to our exposure on our own site to all these different things we try to do. Like you guys have been a great partner, because it's like, it's given us this different weaponry to deploy, right? That we can help a client feel special or really brand that property. Like we believe in property storytelling too, from the listing side of like, how do we tell the story of that property? And we love doing that through like a great photography, great video, and a great website.
Yeah, and I've seen you grow your business over the last few years in particular. It's been a really awesome story to watch. And what role has Luxury Presence played in that growth and as a partner to you?
Yeah, we were kind of talking off camera about some of the, some of your competition, how like, and it's like, right, like I remember trying to build a website prior to meeting you in my old office years ago. And like, I think having that ability to I think have like our website's so great. It's like our brand. Some people go to that and see it and they're like, wow. And people that know me from years are like, Matt, your vision was always to have this brand. Wow. Like they go to my website, they're like, you did it, man. Like, and I think it's almost like a listing presentation in itself of who we are and what we are. So it's been amazing, but just partnering with you guys. I love Luxury Presence just from the openness and creativity, you guys. It's kind of part of like the ethos of BAT and how we look at things too. So you give us a lot of that digital ability, especially from the property websites and the app now.
Yeah. Tell us about that. Tell us about the app. What's the app all about?
I think I was like, I saw some stuff on the BAT. I was like, I think I sent you an email. I don't try not to buy it too much. I was like, can I be part of the beta on that, man? I love that. It looks cool. And you guys, I love how you guys are leaned into us too. And it's like, yeah, let's join, do this. And it really spawned other ideas for us. When I sat back on my team and we looked at it, we're like, we created this concept for members only for our top client, our past clients and our active clients and new clients that come in that now, what's the name of the app? Because it's like you get this cool app or you get an opportunity like, all right, now what do we call, what's the concept? Like, it's not just about the tech, it's about like what it is. And we built this BAT members only app for our active clients and past clients to have a curated experience. Because again, I think at the center of us is client experience, and I think a lot of brokers talk about client experience, but don't necessarily deliver it. They keep doing the same stuff they've been doing or same stuff that was client experience 10 years ago. But I think the way modern buyers and sellers, everyone engages real estate, it's changing. Between AI and the digital platforms, and it even feels me still dated. I'm trying to deploy like content on TikTok, and I'm like, damn, makes me feel old. I'm like, it's a whole different platform. Like, I feel like I got Instagram down, now I'm on this, and I'm like trying to figure out what works on these different platforms. And so it's a really crazy world we live in. So I do feel like you have to continue to keep moving with it.
Yeah, that's one thing I love about how you run your business is you often take the technology that we build and then you turn it into something that's even bigger. In this case, a white labeled app powered by Luxury Presence, but for your clients and members, as you call them, where they can get access to off-market listings and new construction and exclusive content. So what an exciting concept. I'm really excited to have this live, and people can go check it out. If you're listening to this, go to the App Store, check out the BAT Breitenbach Advisory Team app. Definitely worth taking a little look at.
Yeah, we're excited to deploy it. We're excited to get it out there. We're going to be doing some preliminary market for it starting soon, and definitely go get it.
Yeah. So you mentioned TikTok and Instagram, and you obviously have a big following on social media. You put out a lot of content. You have your own podcast. And how important has social media and content been to building your brand?
I think it's everything. It's also because we're also off camera, we're talking about a YouTube star that's about to fight Mike Tyson. So I think it's like the power of media, right? Right. It's the new era. You just saw it in an election cycle. You saw it in a lot of different things. The power of like digital media, and you talk about some brokers like, well, I don't think a buyer's on TikTok or whatever these things, and I'm like, I don't know. It's almost like it's exposure, right? Like we put up an Instagram reel that outpaced, I think, a lot of different websites we market on, and I show that to a seller for a property walkthrough. We did a walkthrough with a developer who's an ex-Vogue designer. He's very fabulous. Every time I see him, I'm like, I need a new wardrobe. He's very well dressed, we got 2,000 views, right? But the listing on another platform has 500 views total in 4 months. Within a day is like the output you could have. Like which again, I've talked about learning TikTok, and the rawness of it, which is really cool, by the way. Like putting a raw TikTok video, which I just talked about the market with the green screen with like some graphs. All of a sudden it's bam, 5,000 views. I'm like, whoa, it's just, there's so much pop to digital media. YouTube, I think, is probably number one, I think, from a real estate perspective right now. And I'm learning how the different content, I feel like it's a more curated content. But it's funny, I go over, my dad's 75, he's a builder. And I go over his house last week, and he's watching YouTube. And I'm like, what are you watching? And he's like, go check this video out. And I'm like, what? And I think it's all the stuff people say, well, I don't think it's going to be on that or that. And I'm like, well, I think it's there.
Yeah, everyone's on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and older generations are on TikTok now, right? They're everywhere.
I noticed TikTok's changing us, and I'm seeing all these older brokers from my office. I'm like, be friends with them. And I'm like, oh, here we go. Everyone's moving into that sphere. So it's interesting to see.
Any advice for brokers who are successful but not on social media or not active on social media? How do they get started?
I think it goes back, like, I wish brokers, I was just talking about this with a bunch of brokers. This is like a passion of mine recently, because I went through this. I'm a very introverted person, by the way. Real estate's made me very personal. Getting thrown into this business at 22 was maybe a more personal person. And I think it's like learning you have a story and learning you have a story to tell as brokers. And I'm like, stop just putting up listings on your social media.
Yeah.
Just stop. Just talk to me. Like, agents have so much value that they can add to things. Any agent. And it doesn't matter. You don't have to be good at video. Just try it out. Like, just talk. Just do it, and find what works. Like, if you're good at writing, or you're good at video, or you're good at like more curated video, whatever it is, but just do it and just post and stop caring like about everyone and caring about perception. Yeah. Like, it's less about like, it's less about like how it looks. But it's way more about what you say. Yeah. And don't like stay away from like politics, but talk about real estate, right? Like, it's like, don't be afraid about something like that. Talk about real estate. There's so much stuff that brokers can talk about. So if you're a broker out there, like, I'm sure you have a story. You could be an older school broker in the business and have so much great stuff to share that I think buyers and sellers will see and understand you from a distance. And I think great brokers that utilize social media, and I've met a lot of them, and I've seen it with me. And what's exciting about my business and our team business is that the phone's ringing. And I think it's not just from like my experience and my database, which I do think it's part of it, but I also feel like it's because the brand is out there. Yeah. And it's really helped me with referrals, even within a bigger brokerage that I'm at Compass. Like, I feel like I get people that come up to me and they're like, oh, I follow you. And they know about me. They're like, I love your kids and your family's beautiful, and like, I love how you post. And like, I think it gives you an opportunity to have a platform to go get business, but also just tell your story.
Yeah, brand awareness is a huge deal. Yeah, yeah, it makes everything easier when you have brand awareness. Much easier to close a client, much easier to get referrals. Yeah, like all of those things get easier when you're top of mind.
I agree. Totally agree.
Tell me about your tech stack. What are the tools that you use every day?
As a person that can have too many ideas, I try not to make it too large. Yeah. I've done that before. Compass has a great CRM, a Compass agent. We utilize that for like the relationship-based stuff. We obviously have the Luxury Presence platform and the app and what we're using. And then, we're big into the G Suite. And I feel like we could go into like, I've used all sorts of stuff. I've even called you. I'm like, you guys use this, Yeah. And like, I've tried like some of the Asanas and Mondays for project management, but it's all with the idea in mind of like system, process, and like experience. Yeah. Like, if you go to a hotel or you launch a rocket, there's a checklist and a process. And I feel like agents need to realize that and spend the time. And agents stay away from it because sometimes it's easier to go do what you're good at, which is selling houses. But actually, like, getting underneath the hood of your business and getting mechanical with it and looking at like a science is key. So we utilize the tech a lot for that.
Yeah, I would say it's the only way to scale a luxury experience. Yeah. Right? Otherwise, you're kind of limited to how close you can stay to things. And as soon as you want to serve, more than a handful of clients, you have to have a system.
Yeah, and like my favorite thing is when a client at the end of a deal or anything is like, Matt, you and your team did such a great job. Like, all the hardness about real estate, all the tough things and all the horror stories and all the tough things we go through as an agent sometimes, like, it makes me feel like I helped somebody and like they feel great and are happy with their family. And that's the most rewarding thing. My worst nightmare is like fumbling the ball and just messing it up. And there's a lot more opportunity to fumble the ball. You may escape it if you don't have process, and you can't get the performance. We have a real high standard for getting results, and like you have to have the process to it.
Yeah. Real estate has been through a lot of change this year, right? NAR settlement, rule changes in August. Now there's a lot of chatter about clear cooperation, or what it means for private listings and what it means for the MLS and so forth. What impact has all of this had on your business and on the market, more broadly speaking?
It's funny, the Hamptons is very silo-y, it's very much of a bubble itself, and it's like we don't have a state MLS out here, so it's a little bit of a different environment. It's probably less impactful than other areas, but still, when I looked at it, I'm like, I actually think it's a good thing that like I like things trying to get shooken up and move forward. And I also think from a buy side perspective, I think it's a good opportunity. I think it's a good thing on the buy side. I know it's annoying for agents, but I think like trying to figure out how you can add value as a buyer agent, and also turning it more like we always pitch listings. It was always weird to me that we never pitched buyers. Yeah. Right. Like you never pitch buyers like, this is why you should work with me. Sign this. Right. But a listing they would sign. And then 2 years, like you have to work with them a year. Then they meet somebody at a cocktail party and go see a house and buy it. Like that happens to so many agents. You basically, you're not an agent until that happens to you. It all happens to everybody that you work with a buyer for some time, and then there's no loyalty in it, and it's hard. Yeah. But like, what if you could, it gives you an opportunity to lock in that buyer and say, hey, this is what the commission is. This is what the terms are. Yeah. Right? It's like anything in business, right? Like you have a team member or whatever, you got to work those terms out. I feel like agents would just work on the go because we were in fear of losing that buyer or losing that opportunity. And I think that's the kryptonite to agents, is that we can operate a lot in these fear states, which is dangerous. And I've been guilty of it myself.
Yeah, I feel like it forces agents to communicate their value earlier, and it makes buyers more thoughtful about who they pick to represent them, which ultimately benefits the best agents relative to everyone else.
Exactly. Out in the Hamptons, it's not as forced because we don't have the true MLS, but I think in those opportunities in those other areas, like it should be 100% focused on to get it. And actually just happened, I actually was able to get a buyer to sign, they did a buyer agreement, and it worked out fantastic for me. Yeah. My buyer walked in an open house, like after the buyer agreement had been signed. And I think those situations, every agent's been in it where it gets a little dicey, who they are and who, and it was kind of, it protects you a lot as an agent. Yeah.
Tell me about this listing we're in. Yeah. You were gracious enough to host us here. This is a beautiful listing out here in the Hamptons.
So this is a multi-lot compound. There's a building lot in the front. We're in the modern structure. It's about 12,000 square feet. Rented it last year for, almost $1 million for the summer. And it was done by Oza Sabbath, who's a major modern architect. They're custom architects too. And what I loved about this developer was that most developers do not build this. They build a traditional house, or they can do modern, but it's more of like these in-house architect, or it's just more kind of cookie cutter. Like you're in a Ferrari, and those are maybe a more standardized luxury car. And this is what this is, and it's a really amazing modernist living. It's built around a courtyard. In the back here, everything's built around, it all feeds out into this courtyard, meant to entertain. There's a lot of different nooks to entertain and hang out and have quiet space. And it's an amazing, amazing spot. And it has that building lot in the front that someone could maybe build a guest house or do a tennis court if they wanted to in the future.
Yeah, that's a really great place, and thanks for having us here. Before you wrap up, what's one key lesson or piece of advice that you would share with our audience?
Never give up.
Never give up. I love that.
Yeah, I think just get up off the mat. No matter how hard it hits, and no matter what it is in life, I think just never give up. Just be relentless with it. Yeah. And I think when you get with the clients, follow up. Just take that into clients and follow up and stay on it, and just get up. You're gonna take I think sales is in this business, real estate particularly, you just have to be. The best agents are just very good at getting told no 90% of the time, and continue moving forward. Yeah,
great advice, Matt. Thank you so much for all of the great insights. I know our audience really enjoyed that, and we talked about it earlier. You were the first guest that has been back for a second time on the show, so it's been great to have you back.
You give me a trophy when it's wrapped.
There we go.
Yeah, I love it. We'll have to have you back on Bat Disrupt, man. I think I'd love to have you back.
We'll do that. Right, thank you, Matt.